Hello everyone, today is the 25th of June and it marks International Scoliosis Awareness Day. A lot of people have a friend with scoliosis or know something about the back condition, but not everybody knows what it's like to live with scoliosis or to have a family member with that condition. So I thought in my small way I would help to contribute to the awareness of scoliosis by telling my story. I was born with congenital scoliosis, which literally means that curvature of the spine which occurred prior or just after birth. I was diagnosed when I was 2 years old. I had hair growing between my shoulder blades, long blonde hair, about that long. I still have that today, which we later realised was a sign of spinal cord damage. I was also very slow to walk, so my parents took me to the doctors who sent me for an x-ray and they confirmed that I had curvature of the spine. This was in the 1970s, so now you know how old I am, and operations were still relatively new and pioneering and very difficult, so they weren't generally used on children. So I was monitored throughout my childhood through x-rays to make sure that my spine wasn't continuing to curve at an alarming rate. But as I hit adolescence, around about 11 years old, my spine began to curve much more rapidly, which isn't uncommon in adolescence, particularly in girls. There is actually research going on at the moment for idiopathic adolescent scoliosis, a slightly different form, and they're looking at whether there is a genetic connection between scoliosis and our DNA. So that's interesting research for the future. Doctors measure the degree of your curves by using what they call Cobb angles. Now, I'm no mathematician, so I don't understand how that works. But what I do know is that if your curves are less than 40 degrees, it's generally considered to be a mild form of scoliosis. If your curves are over 40 degrees, then you have moderate to severe scoliosis, depending on how big your curves are. My curves are now over 100 degrees. You wouldn't think it was possible, would you, to have curves that big? But, well, here I am, living proof that curves can be over 100 degrees and you can still have a good normal life with that. I've never had an operation, but operations today are much more routine. There's still big operations, there are still risks to them, but more and more people are having surgery on their spines and going forward to live normal, happy, healthy lives with healthy spines. So be encouraged if you're waiting for surgery that everything will be all right for you. My bones, in their great infinite creativity, have actually fused themselves, which is, I find, quite incredible. And so what's happened is that the bones have grown extra cartilage or extra bone, I don't know, between the vertebrae in my thoracic spine. That's this part of your spine that runs through your rib cage. That's your thoracic spine. And so that means that although my curves are very big, they're not going to move anymore. They're not going to curve anymore, which is great news for my spine. I have two curves in my lumbar spine, which is where your hips are, my thoracic spine, and my cervical spine, which is the part of your spine in your neck, is also affected. And many, many people with scoliosis have more than one curve in their spine. Imagine that your spine is like the pillar of your body. If it's straight, it holds your body up perfectly. But if you have a curve in your spine, your body will try to compensate for that adjustment by curving in a second place, and that's often called a compensatory curve. So my main curve is in my lumbar spine, but my compensatory curve is in my thoracic spine, and my neck is also affected. That, of course, comes with complications. I have arthritis in my thoracic spine due to the inflammation of the joints. I have disc degeneration, although my doctors tell me my discs are pretty good considering. I have pain from the spinal cord damage, and I have muscle fatigue and muscle pain and muscle spasms. Because again, imagine that your spine is straight. Your muscles don't have to work very hard because your spine is holding your body up. But if your spine is curved, the muscles around your spine have to work so much harder to hold you up in a good position. If you think that your child might have scoliosis, or you yourself think you might have scoliosis, there are a couple of things that you can do to check. First of all, are your shoulders even? If one is higher than the other, then that might indicate scoliosis. If one hip is higher or protruding, then that might also indicate scoliosis. But don't panic. Go to your doctor, get an X-ray, and get it checked out, because there are plenty of treatments that can help. Like I said before, I didn't have surgery, but I did have a brace. Braces are still used today, and they help to slow down the progression of the curves. I wore mine for 18 months. It is hard plastic, about 1/2 inch to 1 inch thick, with foam inside, sometimes buckled around the front or the back. Mine was buckled around the back. I wore that for 23 hours a day for 18 months. It wasn't the greatest time. They're uncomfortable, they're sticky in the summer, but it did do the job that it was meant to do. Living with scoliosis isn't all bad. I have to take painkillers. Yes, that's true. But scoliosis is what makes me, me. It makes me unique. And I love my back for all its curves. So whether you have a curvy back or not, look after your back, because it's the only one you're going to get. And I just want to say on Scoliosis Awareness Day, support Scoliosis Association UK. They help patients and their families through diagnosis and to treatment and for the whole of their lives to give information and support. And so if you see on the internet today, #GotYourBack, then give them a thumbs up, because they're doing really good work. I really hope this has been even sort of educational and you have got a better insight into what it's like to live with scoliosis. Thank you for listening. Bye.